Hi everyone, welcome once again. Right, so in this video, I'm gonna walk you through how you can securely access what we call your database, basically AWS RDS, which has been provisioned into what we call your private subnet. Okay, bear in mind when you have this database in a private subnet, it doesn't have access to what we call public IP, so therefore connecting it to it can be a bit tricky. So I'm taking my time to do this video. Okay. So again, we have ways of connecting to this. So you can either leverage on what we call SSH. Okay. By that, you have to manage the SSH keys. Think about rotating it. But if you don't want that, if you don't want to have you know, the risk of managing access keys, okay, the best way is to leverage what we call the session manager. Okay, or by that I've done so many videos regarding connecting to your instance via what we call the session manager. So in this scenario, we're going to work on connecting to our database, but we're going to do it via what we call the a jump host. Okay, so or this Bastion host will help you, basically as the name implies, you're going to jump onto that Bastion host and therefore connect to the database. The reason being, okay, all resources within a VPC can communicate with each other. We're going to place the EC2 or the jump host into a public subnet so we can have a secure connection to our database. How are we going to do this? So at the end, we also connect using what we call pgAdmin. It's just a client so we can nicely connect to our database. Okay. So without much ado, I think let's jump into it straight away and then get this done. Okay. Let me get into my console and then we will start this. But before I go on, if you're not too sure how to create a custom VPC, I've done a separate video about that and I've covered the basics and the concept with hands-on demonstration. So please watch that video because we are going to provision the instance, which is the jump host, basically an EC2 instance, into the VPC. Also, our database is going to be in a private subnet within the same VPC. So please, if you're not too sure, watch that video before you come to this. But if you are comfortable with VPC, follow along in this video. So let's get started. Right. So I've got my VPC, like I said already. Okay. So what I need to do, nice and easy. First of all, actually, let's start provision our EC2 and then we will do um, the database. Okay, so let's find our EC2. Actually, let me open a new tab here. EC2, come here, and then what we need to do is to create or launch. Okay, let's go for that. Okay, right, let's name it Bastion. Yeah, host. Let's add host. Yeah, for some reason, let's add host. Nice one. Okay, so right, let's pick Amazon. Let's happy with that. Keep scrolling down. Okay, leave everything the way it is. T free micro is fine. Actually, we can. That's fine. Let's leave it the way it is. Okay, keep scrolling down. Here, I do not want to manage any keys. Okay, therefore I will say proceed with no key pair. Okay, this is when we are not gonna create key pair to connect to the instance. We're gonna use session manager. Okay, on the network, remember we now have the authority, we have the capacity to provision our own VPC. Therefore, we're gonna drop this jump box into our public subnet. The reason being we can connect to it from the public subnet and then jump onto that to connect to our database. So let's go to the edit the network and then pick our VPC, the one we created. So simply done VPC. Happy with that. Be careful here, okay? We want the EC2, the jump host, to be in a public subnet, not private, okay? So let's pick our public subnet. Let's pick one of them. That's fine, okay? In AZ1, that is good, right? We want to assign public IP to that. Happy days. Okay, so what we can do, we can create a security group, but this security group is literally going to be redundant. Okay, but whilst you're creating EC2, you can do away without creating security group, so we will create it, but we are not going to allow any inbound rules or anything like that. It's just going to be the outbound. Okay, so we will create that. Let's give it a name, Bastion SG. Yeah, security group. That's nice. Okay. Um. Okay. Let's give it the same name. Copy and paste that to the same place. Bastion. Happy days. Right. On the network, I think we are good. Here, the port, we don't need even SSH. Yeah, we are not SSHing into this, so we can remove this. Yeah. Right. We are going to use session manager. When we scroll down, we keep the same. The configuration of the storage same. Advanced details. Let's scroll down. What I'm looking for is the what is that? I'm looking for not this one, not this one. Oh, I'm looking for the instant profile. Where is that? Here you go. Right. This is the one. Right here, I'm going to pick something. So they have created what we call a row. This row had a permission to be able to do what we call session manager. So let me look at it and I'll show you quickly. So I'll create it and then I'll show you what I mean by that. So that is called, I think it's called dev. Yeah, that one, instance. That one. I'll pick that. Okay. So this row, actually, let me show you quickly. Let me open IAM row here, open a new tab here, and then go to row. Okay, I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. So this row has what we call session manager permission. So what is called dev instance, that one. Okay, when I click onto that, if you see trusted relationship, is going to assume a role. Okay, STS assume role. After the assumption of the role, this is the EC2. Yeah, the EC2 assume a role. Okay, when the role is assumed, there's a permission attached. So this is the one I'm interested. Ignore this for now. Is been able to do what we call SSM manage instant call. What does it do? It has the permission to be able to do various things. You know, as a session manager creates tunnel, create channel, so many things. Basically, this is the role you need. Okay, can you see this is AWS manage uh, permission. You only attach this permission to the role and you'll be cooking on the gas to SSH, okay, with no keys to manage. So let's go back to where we were. So I hope you follow. If you're not too sure how to, manage roles and that, I have a separate video about that as well. So this is what we selected. We're good so far. Leave everything the way it is. Okay, actually, let's do a quick sweep over and see if you're not missing anything. That is the name. This is it. We happy with that. Keep scrolling down. Instance is fine. No keys to manage. We using our own VPC. We deploying it to public subnet. Allow public IP. We creating security group with no rules. Happy days. Happy days. Happy days. Okay. I think we are safe to launch. So let's launch this. Okay. Right. While this is launching, we will leave it and go and create our RDS. Okay. Again, let me cancel that one. And then I'm gonna create RDS, open in a new tab here, and I'm gonna look for our database. Right. And I'm gonna create database. Which one am I picking? Let's select that one. That's fine. Aurora Postgres is fine. Scroll down. Let's leave everything the way it is. The version, leave it the way it is. Leave that. If you want, you can enable that. Okay, I'll do a separate video about RDS, but leave everything the way it is and just select the test or the dev slash test. Okay, if you're on the free tier, you know, some of this will be free, but I think I'm out of my free tier, so that is fine. Leave the cluster name the same, and then the master username. If you want, you can leave it the way it is, but you know what, let me put done here. Okay, simply done. All right, and then we're going to manage our own keys, or by that we're creating our own password. Okay, so let me put some password here. Okay, and let me confirm it. Mm, okay, um that is fine. Leave the way this one is, the storage configuration, the cluster storage configuration, leave it the way it is. You can pick whichever one you want, but let's go for the best class, bestable class. Okay, um T3 medium is fine for me, and I'll leave this one is don't create Aurora replica. Let's leave it. And here, if you are happy with it, you can connect using this straight away, but we want to actually do the hard way, so we learn. Okay, so let's pick it. Don't connect to an EC2 compute resource. We will do it on our own. Okay, leave the IP version 4, that's one we are using. The virtual private cloud, the one you created, you need to select. If you misconfigure this, you have issue. Okay, make sure you select the one you created. Okay, you create that. Right. Okay, DB subnet group, I think we need two of this. You know what, let me open another tab and create a separate one. Let me duplicate this. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll create a subnet group, and then I'll just pick that one up from there. So subnet groups. Okay, create subnet group. I can create it alongside, but I just want to do it separately and then select it from there. So let's call this simply done. Okay, hyphen db subnet group. Okay, that is fine. So description, we can put the same thing as here, paste it here. Okay, and here you pick your VPC, the one you created. Again, make sure you don't misconfigure this, it will cause you dramas here. So pick the right one. Okay, availability zones. Okay, remember we deployed this to availability zones A and B. So for now, you can disregard the C. If you want, you can leave it there. Okay, and then the subnet, remember we want to have what we call the subnet where we're going to deploy this. So far, like you said, this is going to be in a private subnet. So private subnet 2, which is in 1B, and then private subnet 1. Okay, so we go availability zone 1A, 1B. That is fine. Okay, and what we need to do, just give it a quick scan and then just do create. Okay, happy days. So let me go back to where we were when we were creating the database. I will try and refresh and see we get our, okay, try and refresh this. Refresh it here, and then yeah, refresh the VPC here, and then the DB subnet group will populate here. Okay, the one we just created. Here, you do not want to, for test purposes or POC, you can select the public access, yes, but for production, you will need to put this as no. Okay, you don't want this to be publicly accessible, so we select no. You don't want dramas. Okay, so please be careful on here. So let's select no on that, because we're gonna connect using Bastion Host, and then security group. Okay, for the RDS. So we create security group. Let's give it a name. So let's say DB hyphen SG. Okay, we place it in availability zone. You can pick, or you can say no preference. AWS will put it in a AZ for you if you want. You leave everything the way it is. Okay, leave everything the way it is. Additional configuration, leave it. That's the port that the database will be listening on. Okay, leave everything the way it is. Leave everything the way it is. Performance insight, we don't want to pay any extra, so let's leave that. Uncheck that. Uncheck that one as well. If you want to leave the monitoring one, you can still check it if you want. But let me uncheck that. Okay, and this is showing me, it doesn't mean I'm paying this, but this is let you know this is pay per use. So I believe you are on free tier, so you not see this. So what I want to show you is a quick scan. Make sure you are happy with what you are creating. Okay, Aurora Postgres. Okay, version, you happy with the dev, DB setting, the master username. Okay, the password, you happy with it. Okay, standard, you happy with everything. Bestable. All right, keep going down. IP version 4 into your VPC. Okay, database subnet group. Okay, you put in it outside, you're not making it public, you put it into your subnet. Okay, and then you creating security group. The security group, we have to allow the Bastion host, okay, to come in. Okay, we're going to accept traffic from the Bastion host. Okay, so we can connect to that. So after creation, we will sort it out. The rest, I think we are good. So let me create. It will take some time to get it created. So no, for now. So whilst it's doing that, we can quickly go to our instance, okay, and make sure the instance is done. Okay, all right. So let's wait for the DB to get provision, and then we will connect to it. But at the moment, it's still in the creation mode. So I'll see you when it's done. Okay, right. Yeah, welcome back. So the DB has been provisioned successfully. So what we need to do is to check our instance. Our instance too has been successfully provisioned. So let's check session manager if it is working on the instance. When it's working, we will try and connect the DB as well, okay, and see if it works. So let's go back to our Bastion host, okay, and here we will connect. So we don't need any SSH key or anything like that. All we need is SSH session manager. Okay, so connect. Okay, if your session manager is not working, you need to reboot your instance. Hopefully it works. Okay, so let's give it a minute. Okay, right. So right, it's in now. We are connected. So this is the instance. How are we going to check whether the DB can be connected all right? Okay, so we need uh, Postgres, some client. So let's have a look. I have this here. One second. Let me have this here. VS Code. Okay, on here. So we are going to install. We are going to install Postgres. Yeah, let's copy that just to make sure we can connect. We are just checking and make sure we can connect to the DB, and later on we use the pgAdmin. So let's go back to our session manager bit, put it here, and we are going to install that. So enter. I'll share the code with you. If those of you who are interested, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll share with you. Okay, so this is Amazon Linux. All we need to do is to do the sudo dnf and then install the Postgres. So we're good for now. The next one is, okay, let me have a look again, is to connect to the actual database. Okay, so Postgres, okay, and then -h and then the DB endpoint. Okay, that's what you need. The endpoint of the DB will be here, and then the port number, and then the username, and then the DB is going to connect to. Okay, so we can connect to the Postgres. So what we need to do is to grab the database. What is that? Okay, go back to the DB. Okay, and then grab the endpoint, copy the endpoint, and all I need to do is come back here and literally, okay, what is that? So literally here, from here all the way to the .com. Okay, let me paste that there. Okay, the username, that is the username, the master username I created. If you go here, you'll be able to see it. So connectivity, no, here, what's that bit? So the DB itself, then the configuration, see the master username done. Okay, that's the one I'm going to use. So go back here and then I'll put done here instead of simply done. I'll remove the rest. So I'm going to connect to the user, the master user, and then the DB already on the Postgres is the Postgres. Okay, so we're going to connect to that. Okay, so let me copy this whole thing from here. Okay, just up to there. All right, on the host and make sure we work. So go back to our DB, not the DB, the instance, the Bastion host, and see if you can connect. So I'm going to paste it here. Okay, and then it's gonna ask me the password. Okay, so enter. So it's command not found. Let's bring it back up again. Paste it here. Go back. So -u all the way. I think there's a space at the end here at the beginning. So let me just remove that white space. db.com. Strike in 442. Enter. Let me check again. Let me check the endpoint again. DB connectivity. Use that one. That's the endpoint. Okay. Use that one. Okay, the same thing here. -p. Move that order from here. And then paste it there. Remove done. Space. So pg-h. Copy that again. Make sure I don't copy any white spacing. Copy that. Go back to my instance in session manager. And then paste it here. Okay, so okay. I think there was a white space in the previous command. Let me see what we're missing. You see this gap from here to there. Yeah. All right. Okay. I think this is actually good. So this is still blinking and it's like nothing is happening. And I just remembered the database. We are not allowing the port or the connection, the security group from the Bastion host to the DB. So let's go back quickly and fix that. Okay. So on the DB security group, okay, let's go to security group and fix that quickly. So DB, what is that? So the DB security group, we're going to allow the Bastion host security group. Yeah. So DB security group, edit, inbound, and then what I'm gonna do, add what we adding, Postgres. Okay. Okay, the same one, but here it's still custom, but we need the Bastion security group. Okay, I can remove the top one. I don't even need that, and then I'll save that. Okay, that will be the issue fixed. Let's give it a minute. Hopefully, it will connect. If not, I'll terminate the session and come back in again. Okay, what we're gonna do is terminate this session and come back in again. Hopefully the security group should be all right. Okay, let me terminate this session quickly, and then before I go, I can grab that. Okay, server connection error. Okay, well, let me terminate that and then come back to it. Terminate that, and then let's reconnect. Okay, go back. Where's the instance? EC2. Let's go back to EC2. Find the instance quickly. Connect. Connect Bastion Host. Then connect to that. Once it's trying to connect, let me grab the command. Copy that. Go back. Okay. Yeah. So let me paste it here again. So hopefully we should be good. And now, yeah. So it's asking for my password, which is okay. I think I entered wrong password. Second. Yeah, got the password correct for the second time. Yeah, again, remember your password. Yeah. So I'm in now. You can see I'm connected. For now, I'm not even using any SSH key. This is hands-free. I'm not managing any key. So this is good. We know we'll be able to connect to the database using the Bastion host bar on the Bastion host itself. If you want to use pgAdmin, okay, we can leverage on that. So for now, you're happy with it. We know we're able to connect, but if you want, we can create, some database and make sure things are working all right. So I have this code here. Let's try and copy that one. So here we can create database here and name it simply done. So copy that, go back to our DB here and just paste it here. That command is just gonna create a database called simply done. Okay, so enter, enter. Come on. Yeah, so that database is created. Can you see that? Yeah, it's created now. Okay, so what we need to do next, we can also, after we created it, we can create a table. Grab this. So if you're not too sure, you can go to ChatGPT or any of this, AI tool that will help you to get the commands. So let's go back in there again, and then what we can do is paste it there and then enter. Then, yeah, table is created. Okay. Um, what else have I got? Just make sure we create something on there. We can insert. Okay, we can insert a table or some data onto the table and also select the table. Okay, so insert, and then when that command is finished, you'll be able to select that table. Okay, so I'm not here to cheat databases and that, but just want to create something on that. So again, let's paste it here and enter. It's created that table, okay, for us. Right, so that is it on the actual jump host. So let's connect using the pgAdmin. Okay, for us to do that, let me terminate this. So this side is done. So we're gonna do the pgAdmin side of things. Okay, so what I need to do is to open my pgAdmin, come back here, get it working. Actually, let me terminate this old one. Okay, come off from that, open that up again. Whilst it's opening up, what we need to do again is to connect from, let me provide some name for this. um, okay. A second, trying to remember this. So right, if you don't have pgAdmin already, you can download one. Go over the internet, search it, and then just download it. Okay, so what we need to do, you can create a server. Okay, I'm not this one, cancel that or delete that. To be honest, let me delete that, remove this server. Okay, create a new one, object here, register one, create a server. Okay, so we will come back to this. What I want to show you is how are we going to tunnel it, how are we going to connect from our local machine with the pgAdmin to the Bastion host and then to the database. Okay, so what is going to happen is this. Have I got this? That one. Okay, so from our pgAdmin on our local machine, okay, we are going to do SSH, okay, SSM port forwarding, okay, to the jump host, okay, and then the jump host will connect to the DB, which is in our private subnet. Okay, there's no public IP involved. So this is what is going to happen. How do we get this done? So again, I've got this code here. Again, I can send it to you, those of you who are interested. So we have this. So for me to connect, okay, actually the white screen will be probably much better, this one, right? So we got two options. The first option, okay, you need to have what we call session manager plugin running on your machine. If you don't have one, again, you can install one using this link. I can share it in the chat, so you'll be able to have that. You need to have that downloaded. If you're Windows, you pick Windows. If you're on Mac, you pick Mac. You need to have that on your local machine. Once you're done, we want to connect to session manager. We have two options. If the Postgres is on the Bastion host itself, okay, for that one, you port forward this one, start port forwarding, and you only use this one, the session manager, that one. If you have your database, so if you're using a jump host to connect to the DB, so you start with the port forwarding session manager to a remote host, okay, to a remote host, okay. So session, if the DB is on the EC2 itself that you are port forwarding it to. If it is somewhere else, you are using the remote host. Okay, so this is the one we need. Again, what I will do, I'll copy this and then you run this on your command on your local machine. Okay, so I need the ID of the instance of the host. Okay, and then the port, we know the port already, and then the database endpoint. That is all I need. So database endpoint and then the Bastion host ID. Okay, so the database endpoint, we got it here already. Remember the one we used previously? We can copy that here. That's the endpoint. Okay, and then what I need to do, I'll place it here. Okay, I'll place it there, and then the ID. So I need to go back and grab the EC2 instance ID. Where is that? So the instance is the ID. Okay, we grab the ID here, copy that. Yeah, come back here on the white screen here. So what I need is the ID, so which is the target. We are going to SSH tunnel into that. We'll put the ID here, paste. I think apart from that, I think I put two here. Copy and pasting, that's the results, so this is what I have. I'm going to I think I pasted at the wrong place anyway, so this is the one I want, I think. Okay, that one. So I'll paste it here instead. Right. Okay. 4x. So what I need to do is to copy that and run it on my local machine. Okay, I'll copy this one and then come to my local machine, which I'm using VS Code here. Let me clear the screen here, so Control L. So I'm going to connect. Watch this. Okay, hopefully this works. So SSH manager document. So we're using which document? We are using the session manager port forward host. Okay, that's the one we are using, the DB instance endpoint, and then actually the local host, whichever one you want. Okay, remember you can choose whichever host you want. So my local host, i'm using I'm using 6543. Okay, so port forward 54322 and 53, sorry, 6543. Okay, you can still keep it the same port forward if you want, so 5432 if you want. Okay, right, so let's enter. Okay, bring it up again. There'll be a port forward instant ID. Okay, paste it here. Okay, go back here. Actually, let me change this to the same port. It doesn't matter anyway, but let me change it to 5432. Oh, am I missing local host? AWS session manager. Okay, right. If this command doesn't work, I'll switch fish and take it to maybe bash. Bash should work, I think. Oh, I don't think we're missing anything here. There's a double space here, I think. Let's try that. Right. Again, the same. So let me switch this. Sometimes this can play as well. Let's go to the bash, and then I'm gonna paste the command here again. Okay. Right. Okay. No connection is ports. Cancel that. Okay. Let me just remove this extra space here. AWS SSM. What is it called? Not that. Remote host instance should be here. Backspace. To space. All the way. Yeah, let's try this one. You must specify region. Okay, let's add the region at the end. Let me clear the screen actually. Control L, and then let me paste it here. Bash. Paste it here. Cancel that one. Cancel that one. Cancel. Use bash again. We paste it here. Paste it here. Okay. We go back all the way. I think let me add the region on here. So hyphen region. And I think it's what region is this one? Let's have a look at the region. Okay, Ireland, which is EU West 1. Okay, EU West 1. EU West 1. Okay, I think we're missing. So let me cross check again. 45432. That's fine. All the way. Okay, that is good. That's fine. The space. Okay, that's fine. All the way. Document. Okay, I think I have a name port forward. ID, no backspace here. Okay, double space here, and then let's try hyphen region. All right, okay. I think I know why. So press here, command again here. The region has to be hyphen region, and then that's EU West 1. Okay, region EU West 1. That's fine. In this port, it doesn't matter anyway, but let me change it to 5432. What else again? That's fine. If this doesn't work, I'll look at the documentation quickly for the code. I think it should be alright. Everything looks alright here. Keep going here. The ID. What's the ID? Okay, backspace that. Backspace. No, that's too much on that. That should work. Let's try now. Yeah, finally. Right. Okay. So now it's accepting the connection. Now we can go to our pgAdmin. Okay. Again, I will send this command so you get it right. So remember at the end you need to add region, and then copying and pasting, sometimes you make mistake. There was a double space in here that was causing me issue. So what we need to do is receiving connection. Now let's go to pgAdmin and then connect with it. So here in the general, give it a name, the server name. So let's call it, let's say, simply done. Yeah. And then once you're done, that's the name, you go to the connection. In the connection, you can call it a local host, okay? Or I think there was an IP which is a local IP that it can resolve to. What's that one? Yeah. So you can either use 127.0.0.1 or localhost, whichever one will work. I tried this, okay, on my Windows. It work on Windows, and it doesn't really work on Mac. So I'm using, I think it works on Mac as well. So whichever one will work for you. Localhost doesn't work on my Windows, so it works on my Mac. So I'm trying that. Um, right. So all you need to type is localhost or that IP. So I'll say localhost. Okay, and then the port. Okay, this is the port we are forwarding it to. Remember, in the code, this port, the localhost port here, that's the one we done. That's it. So the maintenance database, that is fine. We leave the way it is. The name, the username is the master username. I think mine was done. And then the password, let's try if you can remember the password. I think let's go for okay. Okay. And so the SSH channel, make sure this is off because the SSM is doing it. Okay. And you leave everything the way it is. Apart from that, all you need to do is to save. Okay, we got some error here. It's complaining. Let's go back and see. So localhost port Postgres done. Maybe could be with password. Unable to connect. Localhost 5432 failed connection refuse. Okay, let's try that one. 5432 no encryption. Okay, let's try that. See if that will make any difference. Uh, Copy that and then come back. pgAdmin, paste it here. Try the password again. Try this again. Actually, the localhost should work. Let me try localhost again. Localhost, localhost, and then save. Yeah, it was the password issue. Right. So now I'm able to connect, and this is the database name. If you go into, let's say, the databases, we have created that one. Simply done. You can go to the scheme. Actually, go to the table, and then you'll be able to see all the table you've done. So a one table with users, and then that's it. To be honest, yeah. So this is how you can securely connect to your database, okay, using pgAdmin and then what we call the session manager through Bastion Host. I hope you learned something. So a quick recap. Okay, we were able to connect to our DB. Okay, from pgAdmin, port forwarding it to our jump host to our private what we call RDS instance. Okay, I hope you learned something, and I will see you in our next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.